Afternoon, folks. Welcome back. It's John Pettipas, and I have a very important issue here this afternoon. It's 2:15 in the afternoon. I was going to do it as a YouTube short, but I can't do it as a YouTube short. I have too much to say, but it'll be short by my standards. I was in Antigonish this morning. I started at Columbus Field, and I worked up Main Street, and I spoke to people on the way up, way back. I must have spoke to 15 people at least. I went in to visit somebody at nursing home, and they weren't available yet, and I called in a construction project in a way, and a lot of nice people, but a lot of complacency among people. Everyone I mentioned said there's an election being held in this county, in this province. And I got an awful lot of comments, not from everybody, but from a disconcertingly large number of the people I spoke to. I've just been working outside, and I came back in to make this here video, impromptu. And it's an election. I get comments like, well, they're all the same. Well, they're not all the same. Okay, well, I really don't take much interest in it. I'm going to digress here. We had the Honourable Keith Ashfield. He was a Conservative Member of Parliament from the Fredericton, New Brunswick area. And the poor guy had some health issues. He had cancer, and he survived initially, and then it became terminal, and he died. And his widow, I've never met Keith Ashfield, but I understand a very fine guy, and I've never had the pleasure of meeting his wife either, but she's quite a remarkable lady, and she put a little post out, and more than a post. It was an interview or article, thank you note to his constituents over the years, and people worked for him, people that were voted for him, people that didn't vote for him, his constituents. He did his best to represent, and he was multi-term Conservative Member of Parliament, so he had to be pretty good to keep getting elected several times. And she said, when people say they're not interested in politics, so you're saying you're not interested in your taxation, you're not interested in your health care, you're not interested in how your country or province or city or county or town is ran. And it was just, she wasn't being condescending, she wasn't being preachy, but this is a widow of a long-serving Member of Parliament, just a very sincere comment back to those that are interested. So we have an election. We have an election here in Nova Scotia. Province Nova Scotia coming up. It was called on Saturday morning. I did a video on it, my first of many on this provincial election. It was called on Saturday morning, which was the 17th day of July. In the whole province, everybody has the right to vote. Everybody in Canada will have a right to vote in the upcoming federal election later this fall. Everybody in the United States in the midterm election next year will have the right to vote. And that didn't just happen. Freedom isn't free. President Trump lays that all the time at his rallies. Freedom isn't free. Men and women have put their lives on the line so we could vote. Whether we like who's running or not, so we could vote. You have some sort of self-determination of who you can vote for, how the affairs of your county or town or city or province or state or country, municipality, whatever you want to call it, is run. And men and women not only put their lives on the line, in many cases they lost their lives or came back maimed physically or otherwise with limbs missing. So all of us, me, you, folks just going by the road out here, fellow on the train tonight, everybody in railroad track behind me, everybody has the right to vote. And we are remiss as citizens. Miss Wallace drilled that into us in grade 6, Mr. Veach in history in high school, Miss Cunningham in grade 7 in social studies, and actually it was history and geography and English. Just drill it in. The right to express your opinion. Okay, so look, if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. And I just urge you, you know how I stand in presidential politics. I'm a big Trump man. You know how in Nova Scotia I support one party because the other party made such a mess when they ruled this province for 4 terms back in the late 70s and 80s and early 90s. And federally, you also know where I stand, that although I voted Liberal a couple of times for Alan J. McCacken, and once only time I could ever vote for Roger Cousin because he wasn't my riding, before, and I voted for Roger. So I was a member of the executive of the Reform Party, and later they merged with the Conservatives. And of course, you don't want John Pettipas on the executive if you want somebody to tell you something you don't want to hear necessarily. So they soon got rid of me once we merged with the PCs, so-called, became the Conservative Party of Canada. But anyway, that's federally it is. Anyway, that said, please, in the name of God, vote and encourage your wife, husband, sons, daughters, voting age folks to get out there and vote. Because, man, oh man, last election we had a low voter turnout in this province. You have every right, and not only a right, I'm going to be a bit preachy here, obligation to vote. My first stop this morning at Columbus Field was at the War Memorial. And I looked at the names, and I seen one of the names, a Lieutenant Brigadier Press, one of Bertha Press's two sons. Bertha Press had not only one son, Bertha Press Meese Tracadie, that wonderful lady, lost two sons in World War II. Both of them got killed. Bertha only had two sons. That's the kind of sacrifice people made, that you have the right to vote. So I have no patience whatsoever for those that complain and don't get out to vote. Vote! I'm not going to tell you how to vote, but vote. And get out there and vote, because if you don't vote, you have no right to complain. And with that, I got to go. This is John Pettipas. I ask you to please share this video around. I've gone on a bit longer than I expected here. I'm at the, for supposed to be a short video, my standards, I'm at the minute mark. Now, that's short by John Pettipas standards, by the way. With that, I got to go. It's the people that paid the supreme made the supreme sacrifice. The least we can do is vote. And sometime when you vote, I'll be quite fair. I'm going to be doing a video coming up, and it's going to have an ending that couldn't shock you possibly more. It's not imminent, but next week or 10 days, I'll have a video coming out, and my final statement in that video, at the end of that video, I don't know what John Pettipas, it's known to be fairly outspoken and direct, could say that could make people more surprised and shocked. So stay tuned for that one. With that, vote. Thank you very much. In a piece in the headline, yesterday's Halifax Herald, as you can go into that, starting quite soon. I think it's start next week or some point, or maybe it's early August, but in quite the foreseeable future, you can vote at the returning office ahead of time if you're going to be on vacation or working away or something like that. So there's no reason why you don't vote. Thank you. All the best. God bless. We have the obligation to vote. And sometimes you got to pick the lesser of two or three or four evils. That was the point I want to make. Sometimes how you vote is the lesser of two or three or four evils. Okay? None of us are perfect, and none of the candidates are perfect usually. And sometimes you hit a riding where none of the candidates are very, very desirable, and you pick the least desirable. Okay? Most candidates are very good that you can vote for, and vote for them proudly for what they represent. Gotta go. Thank you very much. Bye.